It's just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Danielle Cline all the way from Austin, Texas. She took to the dental front office like a duck in water when she started in 2007. She became an expert on dental insurance and was determined to educate not only her patients, but anyone who called to ask a question. Today, she not only provides consulting services for dental teams in the Austin area, but she is launching her new company, Dental Mama. With Dental Mama, she will take her knowledge directly to the people who are confused, frustrated, and most deeply impacted by their dental plans. Patients. She knows that virtually no one understands how their plans work when they come to the dentist and believes that consumer-based education will positively impact experiences for patients and dental teams. Her company, Cline Consulting, focuses on team building and treatment acceptance. She believes clear language, excellent verbal skills, and a strong knowledge of dental insurance, as well as financial options, help set patient expectations. A confused patient will be less willing to accept treatment and more likely to leave negative feedback. Danielle loves to help dentists understand their own vision and use that to give the entire team purpose. She believes that this is necessary to building a successful practice with patients who will rave about their experience. Danielle, first of all, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah,
and
thank you. The honor's mine.
If I was ever going to have a dental mama, I'd want it to be you.
I'd be a good mom for you. It sounds like you had. I read your book, Howard. I think you had a good mom.
Oh, my mom. I let her down though. She told me since I could ever remember that I was going to be the first American Pope, and my two older sisters believed it, and they became nuns. And I totally believed it until I met this girl named Jane, and and then I lost. But anyway, you know. Dentists like to do dentistry. I mean, they go to college. They want to do all surgery. They are in an operatory. It's all hands-on. It's all surgery. And selling is a 4-letter word. And they like you were telling me before the show that you thought that you know, people like you go into endo. You don't have to sell endo. They come in begging to get you out of the pain. When you're an emergency room doctor, they're waiting 3 hours for you. You're not selling them anything.
But we know in the field how important dentistry is. So how important it is to patients. So it's like, do you want to help your patients or not?
But so what's the mental block? Because I can assure you, I've been in this field 32 years. Almost all dentists hate selling dentistry. And I always tell them that, my God, well, what are you passionate about? I mean, I was talking to some guy in Beeville, Texas. I said, you know, all he wanted to talk about it was his F-150 truck. I said, maybe you should just quit dentistry and go open up an F-150 shop. I mean,
I bet he could sell them.
Yeah, and when he talks about trucks, I mean, he's like, you know, high. But he doesn't feel that way about dentistry, even though you know that when girls lose all their teeth and get a denture that spikes them for like killing them, taking their own life in the next 90 days. I mean, I remember this one lady, and one day she just broke down bawling because I asked her about her husband. And because I hadn't seen him in a long time, I said, how's he doing? And she said, you know what? She goes, when I got my denture, I couldn't sleep with it. So I locked him out of the bedroom. And I didn't want him to ever see me without the tooth. And after a couple of years of sleeping on the couch, one day he was gone. And she's looking back and saying,
Howard, how did you feel about that when she told you that story? I mean, how did you feel about her situation?
It was totally sad.
Right.
Even though when I got my diplomat in the International Congress of Oral Implantology, I just wanted to do big cases. So when nice patients would come in that I know a long time, I just said, hey buddy, look, you just won the lottery. I'm going to take out your denture. I'll do the whole thing for free because I just want to do the case. And 2/3 of them didn't even want to do it. They're like, I don't have any problems with my denture. I can eat apples. So in the removable world, you know, if it's not broken, they don't want to fix it. But what is the mental break about trying to sell people dentistry?
Well, I mean, I think that there's a lot of things, and you could probably answer that question better, but I think that you partially answered that in the guy with the F-150 passion. I don't know that how passionate they are about it. Why are people getting into dentistry if they don't want to help people, if they don't genuinely feel sad when somebody is hurting? I worked with a prosthodontist a couple years ago who, if I want to send every patient that has a denture or is in any kind of pain and is older to him because he loves them. He loves his people. And I think that if a dentist is going to get into dentistry, they ought to love what they do, and they ought to believe that it makes a difference in people's lives. And if they don't, then they're probably going to have a hard time selling it.
And I wonder if it's also because they're always selling something the patient doesn't want.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
I've always noticed when you go to conferences, you know, like I was at one where the guy was talking about implants, but the kid that raised his hand asked him, told him he didn't like the case because the patient had 4 bicuspid extraction. He thought the ortho, and it's like, well, everybody sees something different. And I wonder if it's because they're like someone comes in and the old joke is, Danielle, you have 11 cavities, and your answer is, can I have bleaching? You know, I mean, is it that they're presenting something that always gets rejected, and if you get rejected enough, you don't want to go back there, as opposed to?
Yeah, but we have the tools now to help dentists. I mean, you've talked about technology before. I use those intraoral cameras. If you're not passionate about patient education and explaining to your patients why this will be good for them, I don't think it has to be a hard sell. I think that if you care about people and you see something in their mouth that you know for a fact, because you had a lot of education and schooling and experience, even a new dentist can come in after 8 years of schooling and be able to look at something and say, I know what's coming down the road for you. And if you care about people and you want to educate them, if the people don't quote unquote buy it, I mean, that's on them. But if you don't explain it to them and educate them and come from a place that you really care about those people, then that's on you. Not you personally, Howard. I know you care about people. Do you have a hard time selling dentistry?
No, because my gosh, I mean, I just find it offensive. Could you imagine if I found out that I just turned 57, that I found out that the doctor I've been going to, he didn't have the heart to tell me that I had pancreatic cancer, prostate cancer, and you know, that he just told me, you know, to take these probiotics. I mean, it's not his body. I don't have any guilt for your body. I mean, this is the first time I met you. You're, you know, you got 11 cavities. I don't know anything about you, but I'm just gonna tell you, you know, this is what I would do. And then I always tell them, this is what I would do if it was me. But I say, you know, but I also always start with the lowest cost. So when they come in with the toothache, here's my spiel. If they come with the toothache, if I just say, oh, Danielle, you're going to need a root canal, billet, and crown. Well, I've seen so many offices where they start apologizing, like, Danielle, I'm so sorry. Yeah. I'm so sorry to tell you this. But you're going to need a root canal. It's real expensive.
Right.
It's so expensive. I think your boss or your president of the country you live in should pay for it. You know, I mean, it's so they go in that victim mode. So I would say, hey, you know, you got a toothache, you got an abscess, but you know, 10% of all Americans by 64 don't have one tooth. So the fastest, easiest thing to do is just pull that tooth. I can numb it up, have it out of there in 15 minutes. Well, I'm in Phoenix. I mean, 3 out of 4 people say, well, I don't want to pull my tooth, because then they'll think I'm from New Mexico. And, you know, and so now they're wanting to buy the tooth. And that's the same mindset when they want to buy an iPhone or they want to spend some money. But you don't ever make them feel like a victim. They're the one. I mean, dentistry, for the most part, is a behavioral disease. I mean, I did nothing that caused me to be short and bald. But you know, they come into my office and I love them. They're challenging. But I mean, I am brought babies that have been up all night crying from a toothache while the mother's out there in the waiting room pipetting Mountain Dew into its mouth, feeding it Funyuns. Well, I know that lady would jump in front of a coyote to save that baby. She loves that baby. But it's just all about communication. What do you want to do? But I see it. I go out to Texas a lot because 4 out of 5 of my grandchildren live in Beeville. How far are you from Beeville? Have you ever even heard of it?
I have. I used to live in Corpus Christi, so that's close by.
Yeah. Do you like that area?
Corpus Christi? Well, you probably have some listeners there. I like Austin. We'll put it that way. I love Austin. Austin's my people.
Yeah. The grandkids like walking on the shore though. The
Yes. Well, I mean,
seashells on
the Gulf water is its own special thing, and Texans are very proud of their brown Gulf water.
and but they but basically I just have a conversation. I start with the lowest thing. I'm
Yeah.
totally transparent. I tell them everything I can. And then I also notice that people don't start like you say, well, hey, I just want to pull that bone graft, put a bunch of implants and fix it up like new. They're like, yeah. But then when you hand them the bill, it's $8 zillion.
Well,
That's when they have
I've kind of
questions.
come around a little bit. I used to think that dentists shouldn't give prices. As a treatment coordinator, when I was in an office, I would yell at my doctor, "Why are you talking prices?" And the reason why is because it's so wildly fluctuating with insurance, and I didn't want them to say, "Oh, well, the doctor said this was going to be covered," and then they come up to me and I'm the enemy. But I really kind of come around to this thinking, and I would be curious about your thoughts. I think doctors should be presenting fees in the operatory, at least giving a range and letting them know, hey, if you've got benefits, they may cover a portion of it, but this is my fee. You may only have to pay a percentage of that. But if you have a patient that immediately is like, oh my goodness, no way in the world am I going to do that, well, then you need to have that information in the operatory so that you can give them options. And I think doctors, I mean, you have a lot more experience talking to a lot more people. I don't know what doctors are afraid of. I really don't. This doesn't feel hard to me, but you and I think, are a little bit different personality.
I'm convinced that the doctor has to say the price to own it. And because it depends on where you come. A lot of people believe that if you've never had more than, say, $2,000 in your savings checking account your entire life, that any amount over that's going to be a lot of money. But someone who always has 5,000 in their checking savings, but if you say a price, you got to say the price first, because you don't know if the rest of your team's going to go there and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry."
Well, your team needs training if they're saying that.
Yeah, well, they do. I mean, I've been in so many offices. Everyone's always apologizing for being able to save your tooth. And I say, well, why don't you go live in a country where they can't save your tooth?
Right.
And then you'll come back here and you'll stop apologizing for it.
So, I mean, I've had patients that would come up and would cry, about the price. And I would say to them, we are saving a body part here. This is a body part. And if you were replacing an arm, you wouldn't bat an eye at whatever the price was. And if you like to eat, if you enjoy eating meat, Mrs. Smith, then your teeth are contributing to that enjoyment of your food. And so it's important. I think nobody loves to spend money on dental work. Nobody does. I would much rather take a vacation than get a root canal and a crown. That would be so much more fun. In the same way that I would much rather take a vacation than replace my toilet if my plumbing stopped working. But we like things like bathroom hygiene, and we like our teeth and to be able to eat. And so I do think teams need to get out of their heads with that and realize the absolute value that we are giving.
Yeah, and healthcare, it's so emotional. Like you always see these countries, these people from socialized medicine countries will say, well, I went into the doctor and I had a major operation and it didn't cost me a penny. Okay, so you believe that everything we've learned in the economics, all the Nobel Prize in economics, that price doesn't matter and the consumer shouldn't see the price? That's a good idea. Who suggested that's a good idea? And then when they do the littlest modification, like just a 5% copayment, and then you find out your hip's $50,000. Well, the difference between $50,000 in New York City and $40,000 in Austin, and my sister's roommate cousin lives in Beeville, I just might go down there to save a copayment. So, but with healthcare, it's so bizarre how the biggest expense is their house. Yet no one believes that anybody can have anything to do with a major operation like, say, lung cancer. It's like, right. Well, the lung cancer treatment, okay, so the person lives in a $275,000 house. The entire lung cancer treatment's $100,000, and you don't think he should know the price, have nothing to do with it. He was able to find $10 a day to buy a pack of cigarettes every day for 40 years. He was able to buy a $300,000 house and a $100,000 Ford 150. But the lung cancer, he's a victim, and someone else should take care of everything. I mean, you have to have skin in the game, or your patient is just like an associate at a DSO. When the patient,
I would agree. Yeah, I agree with having skin in the game. I worked for a practice that did Medicare, and I think Medicare is a great benefit for the kids because a lot of times these kids, they're not going to get the dental care that they need. And you and I both know how much that can affect you later in life. But a lot of times the parents didn't really value it because they didn't have to pay for it. And so I would actually give them the price. So we would send them, for instance, to the oral surgeon to get their wisdom teeth taken out. Maybe the child's 17 and I know they're going to lose their benefits as soon as they turned 18. And I would tell mom, this is going to cost you $3,000 if you wait until the child's 18th birthday. And their eyes would get really big, like, oh my God, it costs that much. And I'm like, yes, you have this benefit. Please take care of your child. Because I do think that when you don't have to pay for anything, you don't value it.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you brought up Medicare. For the international listeners, it's really bizarre, but Medicare is a federal program out of Washington, D.C., mostly for over 65. Medicaid is a state by state. Mm-hmm. And Medicare doesn't cover dentistry. Medicaid does. But what's so interesting, it's when I go to these public health dental congresses, I mean, I love public health dentists the most because they're the least motivated in money. They got the biggest hearts, but they know so much about everything except economics. And they'll go in there and say, well, what's your biggest problem? No shows, man. I mean, we run 50% no-show rates. Well, guess why that is? Because
they don't value it.
Because they have no skin in the game.
Yeah.
So if they no-showed the appointment, you said, okay, $20, and you could just say a case of beer, okay? That's one case of beer. If you miss your appointment, you're not even going to make another appointment till you give us $20. And when you say that,
that's right, all
the public health dentists look at you like you're the devil, you're a monster. How dare you make someone pay for their own body part? And it's just it's how humans work.
Yeah, I very much agree with that. And I think that having patients prepay for work is a really wise move if they're not valuing it, because as soon as somebody has a skin in the game, like you said, they're going to value it. And I think also if you are ever discounting your work, dear doctor, make sure your staff is letting them know how much your fee for service cost is. Anytime I would present even insurance, like this is our full price. This is the contracted rate that we have with an insurance company, with your insurance company, and this is what we're estimating to be your copay, because I want them to understand the value. They, their minds explode because they have to pay $250, but really the value of it is $1,250. And suddenly they calm down. And I'm all about having compassion, but I've presented $25,000 cases to patients and handed over the Kleenex, let them dab their eyes. But at the end of the day, if you're helping them and they believe that and they want that help, you don't have to sell.
But when you go back to the $25,000 case, the reason that number, and everybody listening to my show is going to know what the hell I'm going to repeat myself on next, is the fact that I'm going to pull it up just to get the exact number. But
it's an all on four.
The average new car price in America is $33,560, and the source being Kelley Blue Book and verified by USA Today. On average, Americans will buy 13 new cars by age 76.
Exactly.
Source Anthony Price. So, and then you'll go to Austin, Texas, and which I love Texas. I mean, it does so many things economically right. It's just economic smart. It's a pro-business state. And when you say pro-business, I don't have any skin in the game. I mean, it's just math. It works or it doesn't work. I don't care that you wished it woulda, shoulda, coulda done something else, because life isn't woulda, shoulda, coulda. I mean, a grasshopper doesn't wake up every day and wishes he was purple. He's just green. And these Americans buy 13 new cars, and 95% of dentists will practice from age 25 to 65 4 decades and never sell one of those persons a full mouth $33,000 500 rehab. And in every zip code in America, and if you don't believe me, what you can do is that's why I love Care Credit.
And they'll be proud of that.
Oh, yeah.
They'll be proud of that.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny because
You never had one person come into your office that truly needed a full mouth restoration. I mean, I don't believe in overdiagnosing. I wouldn't want to work for anybody or with anybody who was wanting to crown every tooth just because, they wanted to make money. But dentistry genuinely helps people. And an all-on-4 case can change somebody's life. So, a cosmetic case can change the life of that person. And I'm glad you brought up the car payment. It's like people don't bat an eye at $15,000 or $18,000 for a used car, but they think it's too much to spend on their mouth.
I think they just don't ever get pitched on it. I mean, and the guy who I benefited from the most on this whole deal was Omar Reed back in 1987. So here I am. I see this course he's given. And I drive down there on a Saturday morning, and I spent, I was friends with him ever since. In fact, I just podcasted a little while ago. And my gosh, he wouldn't even look at the price, the numbers. He just look in the mouth. And I watched him do it so many times. He'd look in the mouth, he'd examine, he'd look at the X-rays, and then he'd stand up and he'd say, well, what do you want to do? I mean, obviously, I could go clean this up, with just a bunch of fillings and stuff, and we'll say that's going to be $2,000. Or I could make it a little nicer. Some of those big fillings should have been crowns and everything. We'll call that $5,000. Or if you wanted me to go in there and just do the nicest thing available, it's $10,000. So what I need to know, are you thinking 2, 5, or 10?
Yeah.
And they just tell you, I don't, whatever it was. And then when they say, well, what about insurance? Insurance has $1,000 max. So if you got insurance, we'll just lower the price $1,000 and give you your form back. I don't even care.
Exactly. That's brilliant. It's brilliant. And it gives people the options. And I mean, that's just marketing. I mean, if I'm going to go in and want to sell something to you, I may have different levels of service, no matter what industry you're in. And you have to know what your customer's budget is. If they don't have a budget, then if they're just unwilling to spend any money, then I think that, again, we still have to educate them and explain to them that one way or another, you're going to pay for this. It's just how. Is it that you're going to have a denture later on because you're going to lose all your teeth? Or do you want to take care of this the right way and look beautiful right now? I think dentists would be amazed by how many people would go, yeah, okay, I can swing it, especially if you give them options to help pay for that.
Right, and it's always financing. Like if you ask any 90
car dealers are great at that. Car dealers are so awesome at making the financing easy. But I don't think I'd ever go into a car dealership and have somebody apologizing for how much my car is going to cost. It just doesn't happen. And
they get right to the point quick. When you walk in there, the first thing they say is, what kind of payment are you looking at? Are you looking
exactly
$300, $400? What is your budget on a car payment?
Right. Because it makes a difference. I mean, are you looking for a Mercedes or are you looking for a used Hyundai?
Yeah. And as soon as they get the payment, and dentists won't do that. And, they'll just, they'll start adding up all these things. But tell me, what are you doing with I called you to be on this show. You didn't call me. What's Dental Mama? And,
Dental Mama?
And ClineConsulting.com.
Yeah. So I'm excited about Dental Mama because it's a way for me to brand myself. It's just me. The things that I'm passionate about professionally are dental offices. And particularly, I really love, usually, the majority of the people who are working in the teams are the women. And I think women are dentistry is such a fantastic career field for women. Single moms, particularly, because the hours are really great for them. They can, if they love it, they can increase their skills. They can increase their pay eventually. They could go back to school a little bit and even become a hygienist. And that is a great living for a woman, to become a hygienist. If they don't like the clinical parts, that definitely describes me. I love dentistry. I love the science of dentistry. If I have to be in the room with a periodontist or an oral surgeon, I'm going to get a little woozy. I don't necessarily want to see it. Even if a dentist, like if I've taken the numbers when a hygienist is probing, and if I start hearing a lot of 8s and 9s, I'm like, I need to sit. But I love the science of it. I love learning about it in that end. And so people that are in the front, of course, they can progress and become office managers or just fantastic treatment coordinators. So it's just a great field for women. And so I'm passionate about that. And I'm just I mean, hopefully you can already tell I love patients and I love what we can do for them. The other thing that I'm super passionate about is my kids. I have an 18-year-old son and a 15-year-old daughter, and they are my absolute proudest achievements. I will never do anything better than raising those kids. They're awesome. I have a good relationship with them. And I can say that with confidence because it's not going to change. They're not perfect, and neither am I. But I thought, I'm really kind of like
an 18-year-old son and a 15-year-old daughter?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And I have a great relationship with both of them. They're awesome, awesome kids. And a lot of what I bring when I was an office manager, what I would bring to my teams was how I raised my kids. That's a philosophy. I believe that I was raising adults. And so I made them accountable for their own actions. I believe and told them this from a very young age that they should care more about their future than I do, that as much as I love them and as much as I want them to do well in this world, it's their life. I have a life. My life is great. And as much as it would break my heart if they destroyed their lives for any reason, and it would break my heart, I still have my life. It should break their hearts more. And funny enough, when I always felt like I had two books in me. I felt like I had a book on motherhood, and I feel like I have a book on running a successful dental office from the office manager standpoint. And the longer I stayed in this business, the more I realized it's the same book. It's the exact same book. Running a dental team is like successfully parenting people. And so I kind of thought, I'm like this dental mama, but my focus on that is going to be on the consumer side. So I love patient education as well. You mentioned that in my bio that I really, no matter who called the office, I was picking up the phone and like, what can I do to help you? And so I thought would you agree that pretty much nobody knows about dental insurance? Or I don't like to call it insurance. I like to call it benefits, but that's
right. So it's absolutely true. I mean, insurance is a actuarial risk analysis by a moral hazard. And so 100 people have a house. Everybody pays a little bit for fire insurance. And you have one drunk Irishman smoking in bed that burns the house down. Everybody pays a little to cover a lot. Right. Auto insurance, 100 people have auto insurance. And your oldest boy is 18, so he should be stacking his first car any day now. I have 4 boys. And they all stacked 1 and 2. All 4 of my boys totaled 1 car, and 2 were fortunate enough to total 2 cars, just like their dad. And but it's funny, I never wrecked a car after I totaled my first one at age 14, my second one at 15.
Oh, and 14.
Well,
that's a good story, I'm sure.
Yeah, I grew up. Well, Kansas, what it was back then, I was born in '62. If you had a farm job. So the racket was all these farmers for baling hay. They had this deal where you go give them a free day of labor. They'd sign your pink slip, and then you could get your driver's license at 14 because you needed it for a farm job. And then
it was a different day.
Yeah, and you totaled out. So I never totaled a car that I was driving after the legal age of 16. So I'm living proof that you should probably wait.
My son got he graduated from high school, turned 18, and got his driver's license all in the same week. And I told my kids since they were very little that you can get your learner's permit at 15, but you're not getting your license until you're 18. So he was driving for 3 years by the time he went off. But then he's an adult and graduated and driving. And it about gave me a heart attack. I mean, I was in this panic all the time, and I didn't expect that at all. But he called me about a month after he got his license, and he's like, Mom, I got in a car accident. And I'm like, okay, everybody's okay. Yes, they were. So it was actually kind of a major accident. Nobody was hurt, thank goodness. But after that, I calmed down. I was like I just knew I knew he was going to get in an accident. I knew he was too arrogant and cocky and didn't understand that, accidents can actually happen. I mean, he understood, but it's as soon as it happened, I was able to calm down. I felt like he was safer. Sounds like, as soon as you got into an accident, you were like, okay, now I know how this works. I don't know. It creates some humility, I think, that's needed in young men.
Yeah. But again, so you got a boy 18 and a girl 15. When you're talking about women, are you single parents or are you mostly teaching dentists, office managers? Is it patients? I mean, when you
So I have two things going on. So Dental Mom, I'll just kind of finish with that. That's going to be a consumer-based product where I'm really just going to be educating consumers through my blog. And so I'll just be writing about things that people are confused about. I have a Facebook at Dental Mama. It's still pretty new, Howard. I mean, this idea is not very old, and so I'm developing it and creating it as I go. But the feedback I'm getting from my friends in the industry are like, yeah, this is something that's necessary. If I were to go online and type in, how do I choose a dental plan? I'm going to get a bunch of ads from the dental insurance companies, and then I might get something from like WebMD, or maybe there'll be something from BuzzFeed, but there's not a lot of consumer information out there to help people know how to navigate a dental office. And because I'm a friend of dentists and because I believe in dentistry, I'm hoping that I'll keep their support, because what I'm doing is educating people so that when they come in, there's not going to be this battle and this fight of, yeah, but I have double coverage, so I shouldn't have to pay anything. The things that just aren't really true. I want to explain why it's not insurance, why it really is a benefit, and what you're actually getting when you pay for that benefit. You're getting your cleanings, your exams, and your x-rays at your general dentist office, and a discount on other work. And if you go to a specialist office, all bets are off. So I'm hoping that kind of consumer education portion will take off and be a good resource for people. And then Cline Consulting is where I go in and work with teams. And so what I want to do is sit down with dentists and get their vision. And you talk a lot about vision and purpose in your book, and how they have to know what their purpose is. And I think especially dental teams that are hiring younger workers, we're talking the millennials here. These kids want purpose. I loved how you talked about that in your book, talked about purpose, because everybody wants purpose. I think what you said was nobody wants to get up and eat and go to work and then die. They want to contribute. And if they don't feel like they have a purpose and a contribution to make at the place that they're working at, then it's just a job. They're just coming in and trading money for time and just getting a paycheck. And this isn't the kind of employee that is going to stay with you a long time, that's going to really care about your patients and care about your business. And so the only way to avoid that, one, is to hire correctly, and two, know what the doctor has to know what his or her vision is, and they have to be able to vision cast. And doctors aren't great at that. And sometimes they don't even know what it is. So I can go in and find out what your vision is. It doesn't take a lot. It's just an intentional interview that's very guided. And then, meet with the team and be like, this is our purpose. This is our goal. I don't think it's like super different between dental offices, but everybody has their own culture and their own way of doing it. And this is, how your doctor is doing it. And this is the greater purpose in that. And this is what we're doing. And it's almost like being a team cheerleader. And then there's, of course, the training and the language that people use, and presenting options and teaching people not to be apologetic. But I don't think that has to come from the heart. There has to be an understanding of the value that you are truly giving, so that you don't feel apologetic. I don't think I can just go into an office and say, stop apologizing for the price. I have to explain to them the value of what they're offering, that they should be proud to be presenting this treatment.
Yeah. Doing things you hate for money is not going to end well.
No.
I mean, some of these professions, why do you think 90% of all prostitutes are heroin addicts? I'm serious. They don't like their job. And so a lot of dentists will say to me, and they're living in a great country, they're rich, they got family, and they're on Dental Town. They're like, I'm burned out. Okay,
the suicide rate's really high in this profession.
Well, it's all relative. After a 14-year-long war with Afghanistan, 14 years, they won't just shut that thing down. They actually have 26 suicides a day. So when I hear a dentist say that dentistry has the highest suicide rate, I just want to send him to Afghanistan tonight.
Right. I am a veteran and I have a lot of veteran friends. So thanks for the shout out to the troops. Yeah, that's tough.
They make everyone else look like it's like when police always in Phoenix, they always defend their behavior by they have a dangerous job. It's like, dude, they have 1/7 the death rate of fishermen. It's 7 times more golf. You know how many times I've been out there red fishing, and the danger about red fishing is 2 things: those storms can pop up quick, and you drink so much of that yellow gasoline Kool-Aid thing that you're not making good decisions. But
is
fishing.
That beer? Is that what that is?
I don't know, man. The Cajuns, they always bring this yellow stuff that just tastes great, and you just think it's a refreshing drink.
This is delicious.
I think it's rum or something. But anyway, but anyway, Dennis always had pity about it. But I tell them, I said, you're in a great country. You make, the average median household income combined is under 50,000. You're making 175. I mean, you're almost making 3 total households worth of money, and you're miserable.
So and working 8 to 5.
Yeah. And you don't work weekends or evenings. You're doing something incredibly wrong. What is wrong? I want to go back to your website and your books and your blogs and all that kind of stuff. Because on your website, it says the top part deal is your case acceptance should be higher. I will get you there. Is that a big part of what you're doing? And what are you doing to help dental teams increase their case acceptance?
Well, again, I think it's the training aspect, certainly, but before training happens, I think that there has to be vision casting. So, the kind of the macro how I do that, or the micro how I do that is getting in and talking to the doctor and doing a guided interview to really understand what he's about and who he is, Dentists are not the heroes of their own story, or they shouldn't be. The patients should be the hero of the story. So who's their ideal patient? Who are they really trying to help? Dentists are the guides. They're the ones who are going to guide them to the correct choice. And there are good things that can come from those good choices, and there are bad things that can happen if you don't make those right choices. And a lot of times they don't like to say what the bad things are that will happen if they don't make those choices, but we do need to identify those things so that we can recognize it when we see it and gently guide people into the good choices. I mean, if you're the guide, then that's our job. Once the dentist understands, and I think if somebody's going to hire me, they're probably not doing this well, right? Because if they were doing it really great, they probably wouldn't need to call a coach or a consultant. I think every dentist can use that, but I'm probably dealing with people that are a little bit more in the starting out or not doing great in that area. I think if you're doing awesome in those areas, there's probably other ways that you can really bring it to the next level. I can work with teams then. And so then I go in and I train the teams. I give them some systems that work. Every office is different. So what works in one, I think there's some universal things that will work in all offices. There's certain tracking that needs to happen. The reports, I mean, like you've said over and over in your book, watch your numbers. I mean, they have to be watching their numbers. The team has to have their own numbers that they're watching. And I think the biggest number that a front desk team should be watching is case acceptance. If the team has no idea what the case acceptance is, then they really don't know their scorecard. They don't know what they're doing. Case acceptance, of course, a higher case acceptance is gonna mean more. Is going to mean increased production for the dentist. It means that you're helping more patients get the work that they need. And if there's a bonus structure, then it means that you can make more money. So I think that is the number that has to be watched really, really closely for front desk teams. And there's not many that are doing that. And so that is what I do is go in and show them how to watch that number.
So, again, there's 8 billion people living on the earth. And even though 70% of it's ocean, I mean, no one lives on Antarctica, I mean, humans only live on a little bitty part of the surface. I mean, more than half of humans don't even live on 5% of the surface. But when you go around the country, there's no dental insurance in most of the world. Right. And when I'm lecturing in China, they think it's moral hazard, and it is, because if your cavity is because you drink Dr. Pepper and eat Cheetos for breakfast, why does your boss or Obama have to pay for it? But in America, you buy your own house, you buy your own car, but I mean, my body, what do I have to do with my body? They got the $10 a day for Marlboro from age 16 to 66, but then they want $1 million free heart, lung, liver transplant paid for by the yoga instructor who's across the street vegan. I mean, none of it makes sense, but I'm going to get specific. Probably the most common phone call that every receptionist takes is, "Hi, my name's Danielle Cline. Do you take my insurance?"
Exactly. It's the first question people get every time.
In the 20 socialized countries. They don't ask that in China, Indonesia,
and it's
Brazil.
Really the least important question that somebody can ask. So what you have to have is a front desk person who knows how to guide that question. That's what the consumer is going to ask. That is what they think is the most important thing to them. But I think that with the right training in verbal skills and understanding of what you're providing, it's not that difficult to guide that person who's saying, "Okay, I'm calling, but before I go any further, do you take my insurance?" And I'm always cheerful about that. "Sure, well, tell me what your insurance is." "Well, I'm with ABC Insurance Company." You know what? And I love it. I love it when they're out of network. Now, I work with teams that much prefer in network. They much prefer that because it makes it easy.
Okay, I gotta stop you. 1/4 of my listeners are in dental school. They don't even know what network, out of network. So slow down, Spanky. Explain to the kids. Explain to the kids in dental kindergarten school what that network, in network, out of network means.
Okay, so a network is, or being in network means that you, the dentist, have contracted with an insurance company to take a lower rate, and then they will pay a percentage of that rate, depending on whether the care is, they classify as preventative, basic, or major. And you are willing to take that lower contracted rate because they will send patients to you. So if you are in an area where the largest employer uses Delta Dental and you want to get those 2,000 people that work for that company into your dental practice, then you have to contract with Delta Dental in order for them to list you on their website as a contracted in-network provider. Now, and if it's a PPO plan, which means preferred provider organization, then that means that the patient can go anywhere they want. They don't have to go to an in-network dentist. It's just that if they want that lower contracted rate, then they have to go to the in-network one, because if you're out of network, you can still see all of those patients. It's just that you don't have to agree to those lower contracted rates. You're not listed on their website, but and there's advantages to that. There's advantages to the dentist being in network or out of network. Of course, there's a marketing advantage to being in network. You're just automatically listed on websites. A lot of people will only go to an in-network dentist, but an out-of-network dentist is going to have more freedom because they don't have to take those lower fees. So I'll give you a real-life money example. I worked for an endodontist that their fee for a molar root canal, not a retreat, a molar root canal, was $1,403.
Why was the three? Where'd the three come from?
The three, I'm sorry, what did I say that was the three?
You said it was 1,400, 1,200.
1,403. Well, yeah, it's a good question.
$1,403?
$1,403 is kind of arbitrary, yes, but we'll say $1,400. And I will tell you that the contracted rate from Delta, can I give this information?
Yeah.
The contracted rate with Delta Dental, and this is for a specialist, this isn't even a general dentist, this is a specialist, was $864.
And how much did he charge?
His fee was $1,403, but he had to write off everything minus $864. So it's like, what, a 40% write-off? It's high.
Okay, and what percent of his molar or root canals were insurance driven at the 864 fee? I mean, was that like 10%, half, all? I mean, he charges
I don't have that. Yeah.
But what would your gut though? What would your gut be?
All of those numbers gets tracked. So I would say he had an associate, and he had a few associates, and so in the front, because the owner of the practice is paying the bonuses, is paying the electricity, is paying everybody's payroll. He got more self-pay and out of network, and the higher paying ones. So the lower ones were going more towards the associates, like the Delta Dentals and MetLifes. They're terrible. Their fee schedules are really low. And I would say for them, it was probably a good 50% of theirs was insurance, was Delta Dental MetLife driven. It's high. So there is a struggle there. I mean, I think that the entire dental industry should like wash their hands of insurance and all go fee for service. I think that would be brilliant, but I understand that it's just not possible in today's day and age. I think dental plans that offices are offering in-house, doing a dental savings plan that the office provides themselves is brilliant. It has the same benefits as an insurance, and it creates loyalty. And I wish more dentists would go to that.
Well, I mean, don't you think that if you could, that if it was really easy to just drop all insurance and go fee for service, I mean, what percent of dentists do you think? There's 211,000 Americans living today licensed to practice dentistry. How many of them do you think do not participate in insurance?
I wish I knew that answer, Howard. Do you know it? Do you know the answer?
It's under 5%. It's probably 3%. And they're usually
that are totally fee for service.
Yeah, and most everyone that says they're fee for service, that they don't even know what it means, because I say, well, do you take Delta? Yeah. Okay.
And then you're not fee for service.
It's like when you ask them their labor, you say, well, what's your labor? About 20%. Does that include FICA matching? They don't even know. Is that uniform? So when you're listening to dentists talk about their numbers, I mean, you should ask them about. Yeah, they don't know their numbers. That's not their wheelhouse. But yeah, it's
Well, I would say if you want to make more money and work and not have to work as many hours to make that money, then get a consultant that's good, get somebody watching your numbers, learn about these things, because I definitely believe that more than 5% of doctors can survive out there doing it. I just think there's a lot of fear there. I mean, it's scary to do that. I get it. But if you're providing exceptional care and you have a team that is rowing in the same direction that you are, you will dominate your industry. I believe that.
But the ones who are selling exceptional dentistry that people are paying Mercedes-Benz prices for, they're all instructors working on dentists. I mean, that's how a lot of these dentists make a lot of money. They set up their TMJ, they set up their clinics, and you sit there and you look at their business model and say, man, what's really driving this? And then it's like that dentist will pay that guy $25,000, $50,000 to redo his whole deal. But back to the 324 million Americans, that little niche market for 211,000 dentists that will come in and pay for that. It's kind of but anyway, I want to get back to the feet on the fire. We live in America. We don't live in China. The Chinese people, it gives them a migraine when they start thinking that you bought a pack of Marlboro every day for 40 years, and then when you need a $100,000 lung treatment, even though you bought a $300,000 house and a $100,000 Ford pickup truck, that your government should pay for the lung cancer. I mean, they don't even know how to wrap their mind around this moral hazard.
How do they value dentistry in China?
With cash. They buy it with cash. They don't buy insurance.
Do they have good teeth? Typically?
Well, okay, so that's the short answer is they have very, very healthy diets throughout their 5,000 year history. And then they went to a one baby per family rule. So now you got a baby, so it's got two parents, and those two parents have two parents. So you have 6 people working for a little boo-boo. Mm-hmm. And then they started all this Western trade and stuff, so they bring them treats. And it's Hershey's and Coca-Cola and all this stuff like that. So I actually was I've lectured the last 30 years. I actually got to meet the first pediatric dentist in New Delhi, in Hong Kong, in Shenzhen, and in China it was And it was just so sad because nobody knew they were harming their child. They were bringing it treats. So do Chinese have great teeth? Not if you got 2 parents and 4 grandparents bringing you treats all day long. You have 9 cavities. But the adults, it's so obvious in all of Asia, from all of Asia, has significantly less decay from significantly less consumption of sugar. But their children, it's a game changer because their children are growing up on pop and soda and all that kind of stuff like that. And then when you get to Africa, then you don't know whether to laugh or cry because the problem, Africa has 1,200,000,000 people. So Africa has the same number of people as North and South America, which has the same numbers as India or China. China's like 1,300,000,000, India's 1,200,000,000, Africa's 1,200,000,000. But in Africa, all the doctors are saying drink Coke because they don't want you to go to a creek or a well and drink cholera and die.
Yeah.
So Coca-Cola has got
pick your battles.
Yeah, you got to pick your battles.
Cavities or cholera.
So they chose cavities, and that's I'd rather have 11 cavities
to be a dentist
and be alive. So dentistry is always complex. It's not an easy deal. I think it is so hilarious that orthodontists think that Smiles Direct Club is going to put them out of business. I always say to the orthodontists, I say, well, they are because. I mean, come on, you don't work. I mean, you don't do anything. And when you come home, you're not even tired. And they're like, are you out of your mind?
Right.
I come home exhausted. I'm tired. And I'm like, so then you're working. That's not going to be replaced by an oral scanner. I mean, there's a reason you're working hard.
What might be replaced is the bad ones. If you're not good at what you do, then I just think be excellent. And I mean, I think it's amazing what you do with Dental Town. You built a community to help dentists so that they have a place to go, so that they're not alone. And it is a lonely profession for dentists. But you can't help everybody. You can't. And but I don't think it's rocket science. I really don't. I think that there's basic business principles that you follow, and you love people and you care about what you do, and you could be okay. I mean, people are funny and weird and don't want to pay, but not everybody. Like you said, there's 8 billion people on the planet now. I still thought there was 7. People are having a lot of babies.
Yeah, well, actually, that because I love statistics, I love figures because there's nothing that can change your opinion more than a fact. You know what I mean? And
one would hope.
So when they say there's 8 billion people, the first thing you have to realize is that nobody has any idea. I was having breakfast or lunch or brunch or something with the president of the Chinese Dental Association, and my first question was, how many dentists are in China?
Right.
And he just laughed. He said, when we say we have 1,300,000,000, that's plus or minus 100 million. When India says they have 1.2, that's plus or minus. And in fact, if you take China's low estimate to India's high estimate, India has more people than China. You don't know. So my definition, and then it depends on your definition of dentist. My definition of a dentist is someone whose sole job is dentistry. And in some countries, that's a 9-month program. Some countries, that's 8 to 10, 12 years. But all they're doing is dentistry. But anyway, they don't know. But basically, China has the same number of full-time dentists we do. We have 150,000 general dentists working 32 hours a week or more. And so does China with 5 times as many people, which shows you how dietary of an impact, decay, diabetes, obesity, these are very behavioral driven diseases. So taking out price, responsibility, taking all skin out of the game, and putting you in a victim mode, which so many countries are trying to do it. And those 20 countries that are all doing it are basically about $40 trillion in debt. And that could, which is a whole nother dilemma on this problem. I think dentistry, the bottom line is this: when you take out insurance, and what insurance is, it's not insurance, because insurance is an actual, it's not auto insurance, not fire insurance. It's a benefit paid by someone else.
People don't understand that.
Yeah.
So we have to educate them.
When you go to the bar and someone buys you a drink, it's a benefit. It's not insurance. It's just a benefit. We like it. We never say no. And then, but where there is a team of salespeople like Delta, who every day is banging on doors that employ 50 or more people, trying to get them to get dental insurance. In those 20 countries, dentistries and dentists make twice as much money. Because when you take out the insurance people selling employers and other people to pay for this, now you're back to the dentist who doesn't want to sell anything, who'll even tell you they don't want to sell anything. And then dentistry has a lot less frills and bells and whistles.
Right. But you know what, Howard? We live in the world we live in, right? So we have to deal with the realities unless things change. You know, we do have to deal with the realities that this is what the consumers think. They think they have insurance and they're angry when they find out otherwise. And if you go online, I'm sure you've done this where you've looked at other offices' Yelp or Google reviews. It's so interesting. Go look at the 1-star reviews. It is almost always about finances. They nickel and dime me. They didn't tell me everything I needed up front. They said that this was going to be covered and then it wasn't. And then I had to get this bill afterwards. And so it's so important that because this is the world we live in and because this is a misconception that the general public has, that a dentist hires a front staff team or at least gets them the training that they need to educate the patients about their financial options and is willing to tell them that, you know what, Miss Smith, this is not actually insurance that you have. You have a benefit. And so because you're paying your premiums, please come in twice a year for your cleanings. That's what your premiums are paying for. If you don't want to come in twice a year for your cleanings, you really should just drop your plan and then just put money into the savings account for the work that you're going to need. You're going to need treatment eventually if you're not going to take advantage of that. And I think when you tell people that, and I know this is true because I did it since 2007, I've been in offices educating patients about their plans, and they are so grateful. I'm always shocked. Well, I guess I'm not shocked anymore because I'm used to it, but people are like, thank you so much for explaining this to me. Thank you for telling me. People want to understand. And so we live in the world we live in. You're going to have to deal with insurance if you're not fee for service. If you don't want to have 1-star reviews and you don't want to have people walking away mad at you because they have to pay money, then get a staff that's educated and trained.
So what's your go-to say when they call up the phone and say, I'm doing their insurance? The reason I ask this is specific. Some people recommend that when they ask about their insurance, she says, well, you know what? Why don't you bring that in when you get here and we'll go over it there.
Terrible idea. Terrible idea. No, get the information on the phone. What I will tell people if they're out of network, so we'll go back to that conversation. If somebody calls and we are not contracted with their plan, they'll say, do you take my insurance? That's how they say it. Do you take my insurance? And if it's not a company that my doctor is contracted with, then what I say to them is, we don't have a direct contract with that company, but you still can come in and see our office. We're going to file the claim for you. You will still get a reimbursement from them. Now, if financial considerations are your main concern, then you should probably find an in-network provider. But read reviews. There's a reason why you called our office. If because any office I worked in, I'm looking to get those 5-star reviews. And if I worked in a specialty office, I say to them, my doctor has a relationship with your doctor. And so there's a reason why you were sent here. You're going to get superior care in our office. We're going to take really good care of you and make sure that you can get all of the benefits that are coming to you with your insurance, with Delta Dental or MetLife or whatever it is. But if financial considerations are your main concern, and I tell them that, and sometimes it is, if patients don't have money and finances are the main consideration, maybe they are better off going to an in-network doctor. And there's some great, especially with general dentists. I mean, I think if a patient has insurance, find an in-network general dentist, unless you've already been established with one and they offer an in-house savings plan. I just think the in-house savings plans are better all around. But I think that there's good advantages to coming to seeing the doctor that you want, who has the best reviews, who is going to give you great care. And patients appreciate that. You'd be amazed how many people will say, no, I want to come to your office. I already like you. I can already tell you're going to take care of me. Boom.
And what percent do you think of Americans are mainly shopping on Walmart, Southwest Airlines, IKEA, Price, benefits, and what percent do you think are paying extra for more than that? How do you break down the
Well,
country?
I think most of them, I mean, I don't have exact percentages, but I would say most people are looking for the smartest ways to spend their money. I mean, obviously, people that have a lot of money are certainly looking to do that. There's a reason why they have more money. They're making smart decisions. People that have no money have sometimes no choice but to, really try to find a bargain. But people also really value service. In America, we are a service-oriented economy. More of our goods is service related than it is actually manufactured goods. And so we do value good service in this country. And so if you are setting yourself apart as a dentist, as somebody who is going to give them amazing service and is going to be incredibly transparent about the price and help them out as much as you can, they'll come to you even if they have to pay more. When I'm getting an estimate for maybe a project I'm doing at home, and I bring in 5 painters to give me an estimate or 5 electricians, I don't necessarily go and hire the lowest price. I may not be able to afford the highest price, but I want to get the best quality that I can at a price I can afford. And I don't think dentistry is any different. It's just that doctors and teams don't understand this concept. And so they're afraid to speak it out loud. And they lose. And if they're really amazing teams and they're really amazing clinicians, the people who are really losing are the patients. If you are a great dentist with amazing clinical skills, you owe it to people who need your care to get the best team on your staff so that people are getting your benefits.
There's so many different markets, and one is, it's a great strategy to be the cheapest. You started the show. It's a great strategy to be an expert. I'm starting to think about all this as time goes on. And when you look at these numbers, the average net income for dentists, dental specialist is $320,000 a year. General dentist, $197,000. So that's $200,000. So basically, dental specialist $320,000, general dentist $200,000. Dentists who own their own practice make $244,000. Dentists who are employees make $144,000. I mean, so you'll take home $100,000 a year more if you own your office and work for someone else. You'll make $100,000 a year more if you just do one thing. And you started this show with that there's always room for an expert. There's always, the best advice ever is, if you're going to be a dentist in Beeville, Texas, be the best damn dentist in Beeville.
Absolutely. Somebody has to be the best. It might as well be you.
And you know who pays for a lot of that best dentistry? The dentist who does it cutting corners and slops it all, especially implants. You put in some slot, you do it wrong, you don't do it right, you don't take the course, and then they go call the state board or an attorney, and the next thing you're doing is paying a dentist $50,000 cash to redo it. And when I look at some of the most cash practice implantologists who don't take any insurance, do all these big cases, a lot of their cases are rework. And half of them are paid by another dentist. So if your patient can't afford to get the dentistry done right, then what you should do is do it real crappy. And then a year later, you'll get to pay for it to be done once and right.
You don't really believe that, though.
No, it's facetious, but it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Every time these dentists cut corners, they're going to pay for it in the end. And so
it's like every hammer's worth $2,500. I heard once. It's like you can get a cheap one and keep buying it over and over and over again, or you can get the best one at the start. And I worked with a periodontist, and a common question was, I want this implant, but I've heard so many horror stories. And I would say to a patient, do you know those billboards that you see on the street, like implants for, $99? I said, that's where the horror stories come from. You're here paying a premium price for an implant because you don't want to be one of those horror stories. But it does start with excellent clinical care. I mean, I don't want to work with every dentist. You don't want to work with every patient. I don't want to work with every dentist. I want to work with dentists who strive to be excellent, because I believe my purpose and my vision is helping people. So at the end of the day, I want to give patients really, really great dentistry. And if you're a doctor that can do that, I want to make sure everybody knows about it.
Yeah. I can't believe we've already gone over an hour and 10 minutes. Is there anything you wanted to, is there anything you were planning on talking about that I didn't bring up that you wish I did?
No, I think this has been a great talk, Howard, and I just appreciate you coming on. You know, being transparent, I'm pretty new right now. My prices are pretty cheap. I think I bring a lot of value to the table. And but because I'm just starting, I need those skins on the wall. I'm not just starting. I bring a lot of experience to the table, but I have not, you know, I'm looking for clients. I'm looking to bring people in and help them out. And I'm willing to do that at a pretty low price right now because I'm just getting started. And so if you're in the Austin, Texas area, of course, I would love to work with you. Dental Mom is something that it's kind of my project that I'm going to continue working on and, hopefully gain some traction as time goes on. And, you know, maybe in the future we could talk about that again.
I just love the fact that you weren't afraid to come out and do a close and come out and say exactly what you wanted, that you want some more clients and you're doing it for a business. And this is what my dentist won't do. They just won't look at the mouth and say, Danielle, I mean, what do you want to do? I mean, we could patch you up for 1,000. I mean, we could do it a lot nicer for 2,000. But if you want what I would want for my mouth, you're looking at $5,000. What do you want to do? And she just said, hey, she wants more clients. So you want to work mostly in Austin?
Yes, in the Austin area. I'm willing to travel, but you know, Doctor, go ahead.
Well, I mean, but Texas is a country. I mean, how many?
It is. So I did have somebody contact me and say, would I be willing to go to Dallas, for instance? And with travel costs, of course, I would be willing to do that. But the Austin area is where I'm located. And so that would be, you know, those are the doctors, of course, that I would love to work with the most because I'll be able to give them the most attention. I'm right here.
And who would be your perfect client?
My perfect client would be somebody who is struggling, who knows he's a good doctor and who is struggling because he's got high staff turnover. Maybe he doesn't understand what's going on up front. He knows that he's diagnosing treatment and he doesn't understand where those patients are going. I want to come in and help him with that. I will say this, and it's a tricky thing, and I think you'll agree with me. If a team is having problems, you have to look to the leader. You really do. And there was one thing I did want to mention. I loved in your book how you said leadership, the most important characteristic of a leader is somebody who wants to win. And I'm very competitive. And that's always, I think, particularly because I'm a woman, has been seen as, it's been a little looked down upon. If I'm playing a board game with you, I want to win. I mean, I'm a good loser, but I want to win. And I want you to want to win because then it's going to be more fun to beat you. And that's a little bit how I feel about insurance companies. Like, I love when a patient accepts treatment because I feel like for that patient, I won. I love getting claims paid, you know, when I was doing that because I felt like I was winning with that. I want a dentist who wants to win. But sometimes the dentist is the problem. And
sometimes
he is. I'm being diplomatic because I want to work with these doctors.
Okay.
But I would like to work with a doctor who probably suspects that maybe he's doing something a little wrong and he's not sure what it is. And if he's willing to listen to what I have to say and he's willing to let me come in and work with his team and he's willing to be like, you know what, whatever it takes, I want to be successful at this. That is my ideal client. I would do backflips to get a doctor who was like, I know that I'm probably the problem. What do I need to do?
Okay, so you're saying you only want to work on 3 dentists in Austin.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
So I just want to say one more thing before I let you go because we're over time, out of time. But when you say sometimes the dentist is the problem, well, the dentist, there's only 2 problems. Either the dentist is the problem,
right, or
the dentist knows that toxic nightmare over there needs fired. Right. And they, I mean, there's threads on Dental Town, and I'm like, I just want to log on and say, what does she have to do? Does she have to come in and like pistol whip you? I mean, what does this woman, does she have to park her car in the waiting room? I mean, they list like 2 years of toxic behavior and they're still like, well, what do you think I should do? I don't know. I mean, I personally believe that about 5% of all humans are only alive because it's illegal to shoot them. and so Dennis, they
tell us how you really feel.
They wanted to be a doctor and help you and do surgery and get. There's nothing I love more. I don't want to go play golf if someone is walking into my office and they're in severe pain. I've always told my staff, that when they say, well, we're closed to lunch at 12, it's like, no, you go to the emergency room at 1 a.m. and wait 3 hours to be seen. I see all the, to get someone out of pain, that's what we do. And I just don't understand. I think that mentality of someone who wants to be a doctor and help you with their healing hands, that to turn around and fire somebody is not in their wheelhouse. Maybe it's, or even talking money. I mean, how do I just don't think they have the personality to fire.
No, so they need somebody on their team who can do it, and that I can help with. So if you know that it's not something that you're good at, then you have to have the right people that will do it for you.
Exactly. If you don't, we just saw a little while ago. When you do things you don't like to do for money, it leads to disease, depression. You can see it at these really tough jobs. They all have bars, right, where the employees all leave the factory and all that kind of stuff like that. So you got to find out why you're unhappy. It's not, you live in a great country. I'd rather be alive today than 1800, 1700, 1600.
Absolutely.
There's you look back at how they lived and all this stuff.
So hard.
So it's great to be alive. So why are you miserable? And I think the number one reason they're miserable is because they work with people that make them miserable. And you don't, or they're in a marriage, they say, well, I can't get divorced because I got 2 kids. It's like, you should see the questions they're putting on Dental Time. Well, my wife wants to buy this and do this and get a cabin and remodel that. And he's like dying from working all day long. And the same guy will get on there and preach that, the government should cut benefits and Social Security, that they should be real tough on hundreds of millions of people. And you're like, yeah, this guy can't even stand up to Muffy. You got one person to stand up to at the office. It's your hygienist, and you don't. You got one spouse.
It's fear. So, they need help. I'm their huckleberry. All
right. So how do they contact you?
They can call me. I'll give you my phone number. Is that good? Can I give my phone number?
Absolutely.
It's 361-658-6490. They can go onto my website, clineconsulting.com, and I do have a contact area there. Get to know me just a little bit better there. Or send me an email at Danielle@clineconsulting.com. And Cline is a C, C-L-I-N-E. So it's CC, clineconsulting.com.
And I'd get a new email, dental mama at clineconsulting.com.
Should I do that?
Absolutely.
I will do that. I will do that this week, Howard, just for you.
It's so funny.
Clineconsulting.com.
Because dentists are, I get the grammar Nazis all the time. They're saying, you put doctor, and then, you either put the doctor and no initials, you put this after. And it's like, dude, you're 4% are America. Nobody in Saudi Arabia knows that CA is California and not Canada. And when you're looking at an Islamic name, you don't know if Danielle is a boy or a girl.
Right.
And I just keep giving everything I can.
Dental Mama's pretty clear.
Yeah, well, and so many people are English as a second language. And if you're English as a second language, Dental Mama is a lot easier than Danielle. And Farran, nobody knows Farran. But anyway, Danielle Cline with a C, Danielle Cline. She wants more clients in Austin, Texas.
I do.
Go to Cline Consulting with a C. Cline Consulting.
C-L-I-N-E.
Call your dental mama, and all I'm going to say is, for the last time, over and over and over, you're not going to get a return on investment on a $100,000 CBCT that 5 years from now is going to be like your Motorola flip phone BlackBerry that you'll want a new one. Every doctor you go to that needs an MRI or a CAT scan just sends you somewhere else, and everybody does that, and it's no issue. You're not going to get the return on a $100,000 laser or a $150,000 chair side. All this stuff isn't why you're broke. Why you're broke is you're just not getting her done. You're not making decisions, and you never will ever earn a gold medal without a coach. And every Fortune 500 CEO that I've ever met, because I've I've got over 1 million miles with a couple different airlines, American, every time I say, you've flown over 1 million miles? Hell yeah, I know I've flown over 1 million miles. I'm the dumbass that did it. But the bottom line is you get to meet a lot of people. And when you're ever sitting next to the elites, the Fortune 500 CEO, I'll say, do you have a coach? Oh my God, and they got 5.
Yeah.
This one's my diet.
I have one.
Yeah, I got one to help me drink because I can't put him down fast enough. But Danielle Cline, thank you so much for coming on the show.
It was such an honor and a privilege. Thank you so much, Howard, for having me.